Imagine a world where throwing a snowball could land you in trouble, or where a state thousands of miles from any ocean felt the need to ban whaling. Welcome to the perplexing legal landscape of America, where some of the most bewildering laws have equally bizarre, often hilarious, and sometimes tragic backstories. These aren't just obscure rules, they're echoes of specific moments in history, frozen in legislative text. Today, we peel back the layers to reveal the insane origins behind America's dumbest laws, proving that truth is often stranger and funnier than fiction. Every state, every city, seems to have at least one or two of these peculiar statutes tucked away in their municipal codes. Laws that, at first glance, appear utterly pointless or so specific they seem to target an individual rather than a general populace. But dig a little deeper, and you often find a compelling, if sometimes ridiculous, narrative. These aren't clerical errors or deliberate attempts at comedy. More often, they are direct responses to unique local problems, legislative misunderstandings, or even personal vendettas. Beyond the immediate chuckle they provoke, these forgotten laws offer a fascinating window into the concerns, prejudices, and daily lives of Americans from bygone eras. They reveal a world where local officials grappled with everything from noisy donkeys to the precise definition of mayonnaise. Each law serves as a tiny time capsule, encapsulating the unique circumstances that once shaped a community. So, let's embark on a journey through the legislative archives, uncovering the true stories behind the rules that time somehow forgot to repeal. Our first stop takes us to Sewickley, Pennsylvania, a charming borough outside Pittsburgh, where the simple joy of a snowball fight can technically lead to a legal skirmish. Ordinance 1032, enacted in 1926, doesn't explicitly ban snowballs, but rather prohibits the discharge of missiles. For decades, this general nuisance law targeted rocks and other dangerous projectiles. However, its comedic moment arrived when one zealous public servant decided to broaden its interpretation in a very specific and chilly scenario. The year was 1926, and Sewickley had a brand new, remarkably earnest police chief named William O'Leary. Chief O'Leary was determined to bring order to his community, and he began by meticulously reviewing existing ordinances. It was during this review that he encountered the discharge of missiles law. In a stroke of interpretative genius, or perhaps overzealousness, Chief O'Leary declared that, yes, snowballs, when thrown with intent, qualified as missiles. This seemingly minor reinterpretation was about to be put to the test. The chief's new interpretation wasn't theoretical for long. One snowy afternoon, a group of mischievous children, perhaps unaware of the new legal paradigm, made the fateful decision to pelt Chief O'Leary's patrol car with snowballs. The chief, unwavering in his commitment to law and order, promptly apprehended the young offenders. Their punishment wasn't jail time, but something arguably more humiliating for a child. They were made to write formal letters of apology to the police chief. A stern lesson delivered, not by a paddle, but by bureaucratic paperwork. While Sewickley's residents can now likely enjoy a spirited snowball fight without fear of Chief O'Leary's ghost, the ordinance technically remains on the books. It's a relic, a quirky testament to a specific moment of strict enforcement. Today, any potential snowball-related disturbance would likely be handled as a general nuisance, if at all. Yet, its story lives on, a humorous reminder of how local laws can sometimes capture the very human eccentricities of those who interpret and enforce them. From the chilly streets of Pennsylvania, we move to the arid plains of Oklahoma, a state famously landlocked, thousands of miles from any ocean. Yet, deep within its statutes, there exists a law prohibiting the hunting of whales. The sheer absurdity of this ordinance begs the question, how on earth did a landlocked state come to legislate against marine mammals? The answer, as it often is with these types of laws, is rooted in human nature, specifically, a legislative prank gone wildly, hilariously, wrong. The year was 1970, and the Oklahoma State Legislature was in session. A freshman legislator, eager to make his mark, became convinced that a seasoned colleague was attempting to pass a joke bill. The joke in question was a bill to designate a new state tree. This wasn't as outlandish as it sounds, as Oklahoma already had a state tree, and the colleague was simply proposing a different *type* of tree. But our freshman, misinterpreting the situation, decided to retaliate with a prank of his own, one so outlandish it would expose the other guy's perceived foolishness. So, the freshman legislator drafted his own joke bill, a prohibition on whaling within Oklahoma's borders. His reasoning was simple: if a bill about a new state tree was ridiculous, surely a bill banning whaling in a landlocked state would be even more so, thus exposing the entire charade. What he hadn't anticipated was the chaotic, often inattentive, nature of legislative processes. Both the state tree bill and the whaling bill sailed through committee virtually unnoticed, and found their way to the governor's desk, ready for signature. Faced with two bills, one seemingly mundane, the other utterly preposterous, Oklahoma's governor found himself in a peculiar bind. To veto the whaling bill might draw unwanted attention and potentially insult the legislators, even if the bill itself was absurd. To sign only one might appear to endorse one joke over another. In an act of political expediency, or perhaps sheer weariness, the governor signed both bills into law. And just like that, Oklahoma became a protector of marine life it would never host. The law remains on the books today, a bizarre monument to a legislative misunderstanding and a governor's cautious approach. While no one is seriously concerned about whale hunting in Oklahoma, the statute serves as a comical reminder of how quickly well-intentioned, or even ill-intentioned, legislative efforts can take on a life of their own. It's a testament to the idea that once a law is passed, even a silly one, it can be remarkably difficult to remove, especially when there are more pressing legislative matters at hand. Our next peculiar law takes us to Arizona, a state known for its deserts, not its bathtubs occupied by livestock. In a specific Arizona town, there's an ordinance prohibiting donkeys from sleeping in bathtubs after 7 p.m. Yes, you heard that correctly. This isn't an urban legend, it's a genuine statute with a surprisingly dramatic and entirely preventable origin story involving a rancher, a donkey, a dam, and a whole lot of floodwater. This law is less about animal cruelty and more about community safety, in the most unique way imaginable. The year was 1924. A local rancher, living in a small Arizona town, had a donkey he cherished. One evening, concerned about the cold desert night, he decided to bring his beloved donkey inside. And where better to keep a donkey warm and contained than in the family bathtub? It seemed like a perfectly logical, if unconventional, solution at the time. The donkey, apparently, didn't mind its unusual sleeping arrangements, and the rancher was satisfied, oblivious to the chain of events his decision was about to trigger. Fate, however, had other plans. That very night, a heavy rainstorm descended upon the town, causing a nearby dam to burst. Floodwaters surged through the streets, carrying everything in their path. The rancher's house, and specifically his bathtub, became part of the torrent. The poor donkey, still in its porcelain bed, was swept away by the raging flood. Rescuers, working tirelessly through the night, spent hours battling the waters to locate and save the stranded animal downstream. It was an arduous, dangerous, and entirely avoidable ordeal. Incensed by the unnecessary risk to both the animal and the rescuers, and perhaps a little weary of the public spectacle, the town council swiftly convened. Their solution was simple, direct, and incredibly specific: enact a law prohibiting donkeys from residing in bathtubs after 7 p.m. This wasn't about curtailing animal freedom, but about preventing future, donkey-induced flood rescues that strained community resources. The law, a direct response to a very unique local emergency, still stands as a testament to that memorable, watery night. From the deserts of Arizona, we journey to the East Coast, to the small state of Delaware, where the laws take a surprisingly granular interest in mayonnaise. Specifically, it is illegal to sell impure mayonnaise. Enacted in 1974, this law seems innocuous, even trivial. After all, who wants impure mayonnaise? But the backstory reveals a fascinating chapter in American food history, a battle over culinary identity, and the surprising power of the real mayonnaise lobby. The 1970s were a time of rapid innovation and experimentation in the food industry. Many new products, often cheaper to produce, were hitting the market, sometimes blurring the lines between traditional foods and their substitutes. In the world of condiments, this meant a proliferation of salad dressings that looked and tasted similar to mayonnaise but often contained less vegetable oil and more water or cheaper ingredients. Consumers, and the real mayonnaise manufacturers, were getting confused and concerned about product integrity. Enter the real mayonnaise lobby. Concerned about their market share and the perceived dilution of their product's quality, they pushed for legislative action to clearly define what constituted a mayonnaise. Their goal was to protect the integrity of mayonnaise as a specific, high-quality food item. Delaware's 1974 law was a direct result of these efforts, establishing a legal benchmark. It declared that for a product to be called mayonnaise, it must contain a minimum of 65% vegetable oil by weight. This seemingly innocuous detail meant that many of the salad dressings on the market, lacking the requisite oil content, were now, by definition, impure if marketed as mayonnaise. The law effectively drew a legal line in the sand, distinguishing genuine mayonnaise from its imitators. While federal FDA regulations now largely cover these distinctions, Delaware's law remains a fascinating snapshot of a time when the very definition of common pantry items was a matter of legislative debate and fierce lobbying, proving that even condiments can have a dramatic past. So, why do these laws, born from specific, often quirky, historical moments, continue to clutter our legal codes? The answer is multifaceted. Sometimes, they are simply forgotten, overshadowed by more pressing legislative concerns. Other times, the cost and effort of repealing an old, harmless law outweigh the benefits. They might also remain as a quiet nod to local history, a quirky point of pride, or simply due to legislative inertia. Whatever the reason, their persistence offers a unique, often humorous, glimpse into the past. These laws, while seemingly silly to us today, remind us that every piece of legislation, no matter how minor, has an origin. They began as responses to perceived problems, however unique or fleeting. From an overzealous police chief's interpretation to a legislative prank, a donkey's watery adventure, or the fight for mayonnaise purity, each story highlights the human element behind the often impersonal facade of lawmaking. They are the unintended consequences of real people reacting to real, if sometimes bizarre, events. America's dumbest laws are far more than just funny anecdotes. They are echoes of a time when local communities grappled with their own unique challenges, sometimes with remarkably specific and enduring solutions. They reflect fears, ambitions, misunderstandings, and moments of sheer absurdity that define the human experience. These laws remind us that the legal framework that governs our lives is a living, breathing, and sometimes deeply eccentric reflection of our collective past. The next time you stumble upon a law that makes you scratch your head, remember that behind every peculiar statute, there's likely a story just as wild as the ones we've explored today. From snowballs to whales, donkeys to mayonnaise, these laws are a testament to America's rich, often hilarious, legal history. We've only scratched the surface. Do you know of any other insane laws in your state or town? Share their backstories in the comments below. We'd love to hear them.